I've used Create to build tons of farms in my hardcore world. The only problem is, now my resource chest looks like this. Honestly, I don't even know how it's possible to end up with more netherite than gold, but here I am. So to fix that, I'm gonna use Create to build the most absurdly overkill gold farm that I possibly can. To start out, I just need to find a place to even build the farm, because if you couldn't already tell, it's gonna be pretty big. I feel like this is a pretty good place to build a gold farm. It's not too close, but it's also not too far away, which is good enough for me. Now, aside from the lives of all the animals that I'm gonna ruin when I build here, there's also a slight problem of this little mountain behind me that I am gonna need to clear out before I can build here. On a more positive note though, I did plan ahead, and I have an inventory full of Create components that I crafted that I'm gonna be able to use to make a pretty cool world eater that should do almost all the work for me. I don't want to brag, but I feel like this may be the single best idea I've literally ever had. I need to put a line of 100 drills going out that way, but it's obviously going to be a pain to do if I'm floating in the air. So if I just put one on here and then I hand crank this all the way down to basically ground level, I can walk across and then crank it all the way back up. You know, I had hoped when I finished building this whole thing that I'd be able to say, oh, that was way easier than I thought it would be. It wasn't actually that bad. Well, that is not the case. This was absolutely horrendous to build, especially because the redstone fought me tooth and nail, but now it should finally be done. I like to call this build the reverse 3D printer, because when I connect the redstone right here, it's gonna start running, and it's gonna use this gantry to go all the way to that side with that long line of drills clearing anything in the way. Then it's going to bounce back, go down one, and then do it all over again as many times as I want, all the way down to bedrock. So, you know, it's kind of like a 3D printer in reverse. Get it? Okay, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The good news is the World Eater's done running and it did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, the bad news is it seems to have made a giant pool and I can't really build a gold farm in the middle of a pool. Oh, I guess that means it's time to do some cleaning. I'm not really sure how it happened, but while I was clearing all the water out of this area, somehow I ended up with this enormous mass of floating water that's just chilling there. I don't really know how or why this happens, and unfortunately, I am gonna have to go turn on the pump and get rid of this in a second here, but this is one of the weirder things that I've seen while playing Minecraft recently. And there goes all the magical floating water, which looks like it's now updating while it's disappearing. Oh, well, I guess it's not totally gone. Now I need to go remove that middle part, but it does look like it updated for the most part. So now it's not special anymore. It's just annoying water. Oh my gosh, is that it? Is it finally done? Please tell me it's finally done. Once all this water disappears, I will be so happy because this was supposed to be the easiest part of this whole build. Oh, yes. Okay. Now I just got to clean all this stuff up and then it's crafting time. Oh, finally. I don't think I've ever been so happy to just get home and do a bunch of crafting. Okay, I take it back. The crafting is no longer enjoyable. I definitely need to finally upgrade these mechanical crafters because I've put it off for a while and I need to make like 150, 200, maybe even more crushing wheels. If I have to do that at the rate that it's happening right now, I'm actually gonna lose my mind. Oh my gosh, would you look at that? It only took like 10 minutes to make 2 crushing wheels. Well, I had to tear off this entire back wall of my house here to make the first upgrade, but it's one you guys have been asking for a while now. It's really simple, just connecting this entire outer ring of crafters here so that I can just input the andesite alloy into one, and it'll spread out through all the outer ones. The second upgrade that needs to happen is the speed of the mechanical crafters, and you guys are gonna hate me for this one. Look, I'm not proud of this solution, and it's not going to stay this way forever, but it will work to speed up the mechanical crafters, and it's pretty easy to do. I feel like the fact that I used a bunch of water wheels, though, should be offset by the fact that I used encased chain drives, which is pretty awesome instead of gearboxes like a simpleton. Let's see how high I can crank this thing up. Can I do 64? Can I do 96? No, okay. It appears that 67 somehow is the sweet spot here. Yeah, I'll fix that wall later. Probably. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. The crafting is so much faster now, and it auto refills all the andesite alloy. Now I'm cooking with fire. Oh, okay. I think the crafting is finally done. I guess technically I filled up this chest and then I also refilled almost everything in the toolbox because obviously I'm going to need all of it, but I don't even want you guys to know how many hours I spent filling both of these up. On the bright side though, that means that I can finally start building the gold farm. Oh my God, I didn't even think through how I'm going to get all this stuff over there. Correction. Now I can start building the gold farm. Now these crushing wheels are only going to cover the very first two steps of the process, which is taking the cobblestone, crushing it down into gravel, and then taking that gravel and crushing it down again into sand, and then occasionally some flint, and even less occasionally clay balls. It definitely took longer to place down than the crushing wheels, but the washing area of the gold farm is now finally done as well. And this whole area in here is what's going to allow me to take sand and bulk wash it down to get the mediocre chance at getting more clay balls. And then these I'm going to be packing down into regular clay. And if you're wondering, Rage, why do you want so much clay? Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. I just want to go over two kind of important things first. Number one, all the flint is going to be dumped out the back here, and this whole thing is eventually going to be filled with lava. So I am ditching the flint. I know there are uses for the flint, but I don't really care about them, so it's just getting thrown into the trash. Second thing, and probably the more important thing, if you're wondering why this is so long here, it is actually 19 blocks wide, which happens to be the exact distance that an encased fan will blow if it is powered at 256 RPM, meaning the encased fans over here just barely manage to also help with washing the sand that's going to be right here. So yes, this is in fact a mathematically accurate gold farm. I went to school, I do the math. Of course, I'm one lava short. I guess it's a good thing somebody thought ahead and made an infinite lava farm. And if you can believe it, this right here is the entirety of the rest of the gold farm. It's actually fully done now. So the basin right here are going to be making tons and tons of blocks of clay, which is going to be output onto the very slow moving belt right here. And again, we're going to have encased fans from each side traveling all the way across to bulk blast all the clay down into terracotta, which is going to enter these tunnels right here. And because of how the tunnels work, they're going to all go in there and funnel all the way down right out here and into this barrel, which is going to act as a central collection point and only output stacks of terracotta instead of the system getting bogged down because one block at a time is flowing really quickly into these crushing wheels, which are then going to crush the terracotta down into red sand, and that is then again going to be washed in this little washing system right here, a stack at a time, before it is turned into gold nuggets. Oh man, is anybody else out of breath after that? The only problem with this is I feel like it's pretty cool and all, and this alone would probably give me more gold than I would ever possibly need because the output rate's going to be really high, but what if I built another? The second gold farm is also now done, and I gotta say, it's also looking pretty sweet. I actually had the most insane idea while I was building it. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. What if I made 2 more? You know, I'll be the first to admit there's a possibility that this build is getting just slightly out of hand. I mean, I've got 4 of these things now, and each one of these is going to need to be powered at like 256 RPM and have a constant stream of cobblestone just being fed into it. I don't know if you guys understand how much power it's going to take just to run all 72 of these crushing wheels at 256 RPM. And then I have to do that 4 times. And then the rest of this stuff too. That's going to be crazy. I'm not even going to think about that yet. But since I've already come this far, what if I just doubled down? No. Okay. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not actually that crazy. Okay, I'm officially putting my foot down and I am not building any additional gold production for the gold farm. Now, don't get me wrong, this right here is absolutely awesome and it's not even done yet. It is without a doubt going to be the most insane build in my entire world so far, but that brings with it a couple problems. The first problem is I just have no idea what kind of rates to expect from this setup, and the second problem is I don't even know what's going to happen when I turn this on, if it's going to lag super bad, if it's going to crash the world, or maybe it just works perfectly fine. But the only way to turn this thing on is if I have cobblestone generation and a whole bunch of rotational power generation. So I need to build both of those. And as you can pretty clearly see, my create resource chest is relatively depleted after the building extravaganza that happened over the last like 12 hours here. So that means it's time for a quick nap, and then I gotta head back to the base and do just a little bit more crafting. I'm really hoping that that is the last crafting session that I'm going to need for this build. And these 2 chests right here are what I have to show for it. And let's not talk about how messy each one is. I was not organized when I was lugging stuff from the base back over here. I'm going to start out by building everybody's favorite create mod cobblestone generator, which begins with 3 layers of item vaults to store all the cobblestone inside. Then there's a layer of andesite funnels to insert all the cobblestone into the item vaults. Then there's a layer of spruce trapdoors to actually break the cobblestone once it's formed. Next, there's a layer of mechanical pumps to pump out a little bit of lava to make the cobblestone. And then finally, the top layer of fluid tanks that hold 1 bucket of lava each. And then technically, I guess it needs the gantry carriage set up on the side that actually makes the entire thing work. There we go. Now the cobblestone generator is roughly 95% done. The last thing to do is just get the lava and the water in there, and it should be good to go. You guys want to know a fun secret though? That last 5% takes even longer than the first 95%. So this cobblestone generator should be 100% good to go, and that means I just need to do this same thing 7 more times, and then all the cobblestone generation for this entire build should just be fully taken care of. You guys have no idea how happy I am that all 8 of the cobblestone generators are finally done. Obviously, each one of these is going to need rotational power going into the gantries and into the pumps and pulling the cobblestone out. All that stuff is going to come later, but for now, I'm going to assume that each one is perfectly made, and then I'll wait until I turn them on to see where the small problems are. And that means it is finally time for the last building portion of the gold farm, which is going to go right back here, and that is going to be 8 level 9 steam boilers. And then the steam boiler and the cobblestone generator are going to feed into their own module or portion or subset of the gold farm. This is going to be fed by its own cobblestone generator and its own steam boiler, mainly because of these horrific 72 crushing wheels right here. But that's enough talking. It's time to get building. And boiling. Yep, I definitely just said that. To start out, the steam boiler is going to need blaze burners, then a whole bunch of fluid tanks. If I'm being honest, I actually don't know how many it even needs, so I'm gonna hope that's enough. And then it's gonna need steam engines, and then each of those is gonna need to connect to a shaft. Now, as you can clearly see, the boiler status here, it's got the size that it needs, but it needs some water and some heat, which means I'm gonna need to pump water into this thing, obviously, and then allegedly I can pump lava directly into the blaze burners, so I'm gonna test that out, and that's gonna determine if I appreciate you guys or I hate you guys for lying to me. I always get comments that are like, Rage, you can just pump the lava directly into the blaze burners now, so I'm gonna act like the Mythbusters. I'm gonna see about busting the myth, and if it's true, then it's the greatest thing ever. See, now I'm just gonna say right out the gate, the fact that this is not connecting to each blaze burner is wildly concerning to me. We gotta take a pause. I gotta look this up. I have to do it. You guys think you're so smart, but I looked it up and it's not in base create. You need an add-on to be able to pump lava directly into blaze burners. Now, should I probably download the mod to make my life easier? Absolutely, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna prove a point. That means it's time to go old school. Mechanical arm to fuel the blaze burners, depot for the bucket to sit on, spout to fill said bucket with lava, a little bit of fluid pipe action to get the lava to the spout, and then one big boy lava generator to make sure this thing's always boiling. Okay, I think the old school level 9 steam boiler is finally done. It doesn't look super impressive right now with how it's running, but once these blaze burners get heated up, then it's gonna start cooking. And I'm pretty sure if I just put a bucket down on this depot, it should start speeding up because there is lava in there. I guess there was one thing of lava in there. Oh my god, I actually forgot to put down the brass funnel on the depot to put the bucket back. Oh, what a rookie mistake. Do you guys know what that sound is? That is the sound of 8 level 9 steam boilers running in perfect harmony. And that means that finally, after days and days of planning and crafting and way too much building, this absolutely insane gold farm is pretty much ready to go. The only thing left to do is for me to connect every different piece together, and then it can finally turn on. I'm not going to pretend that the rotational power is the hardest part of all of this, but it's definitely not the easiest. It's just a whole mess of assorted RPMs, which makes it extremely difficult to connect everything. Right now, I'm working on this one over here, which is the second one, and I have already hooked up and tested out this first one, and then there's still the ones that are up in the air. I don't even want to think about those yet. This is the first time I'm getting a chance to take a step back and look at this build as one big thing, and it looks absolutely insane. It's so much cooler than I could have imagined when I started the whole project. I've spent over a week working on this thing, well over a week at this point, but there's still 2 things left that I need to do before I can say it's completely ready to go. The first thing I need to do is make an on-off switch, because there's no way when all of these are running at the same time that it does not completely destroy my FPS. So I think just putting a lever right here that I can flick on and off to turn every single part of this on and off will be good, and then it'll just be a redstone link at the back with a gold frequency. And then all I need to do is run over to the clutch over here, put down another redstone link on each one of these, set that to the gold frequency, and then this, along with all the others, should be able to be turned on and off by that lever over there. It feels like I just kind of made a giant red self-destruct button right over here, except it's for my PC instead of like a villain's headquarters in a movie. I don't want anything to start until it's perfect. That way we can all enjoy it together, assuming nothing goes horribly wrong. The second thing I need to do, which is a little bit dumber but more fun I guess, is deal with the gold output that's coming off this belt right here, because obviously at the moment it's just shooting out into nothing. And the kind of fun way that I want to deal with this is by having a weighted ejector at the end of each of these belts that's going to chuck all the gold into one central point right here. So I should be good to just slap it down and do a little bit of rotational power magic, and I think that should be good. It's gonna look so stupid when it turns on. Okay, everything should be perfectly hooked up now. I'm a little bit concerned because I think I lost one piece of cobblestone while I was hooking some of the weighted ejectors up, which has me worried that it might be blocking a belt somewhere, but regardless, it's the moment of truth. I'm not gonna know until I try it. So, oh my gosh, my FPS. Oh no. Okay, stuff is being shot at me, I think. Oh, here it comes. Oh my god. Okay, some of them are overshooting a little bit. I'm assuming those are the ones that are higher up though. There we go. That's already over a stack of gold. Okay, I'll admit it. That looks so awesome. I actually love all the weighted ejectors just chucking the gold into the center. Now I just got to figure out where I'm going to put all this.